wanna do a podcast? We make a darn good team. It always goes without a hitch. Let's head to Twitch and go start up the stream. Do you wanna do a podcast? It's the Nerd Glasses Podcast. Let's start now. Hi everyone and welcome to the Nerd Glasses Podcast. Come?
Alright, I'll do my own bits myself.
Oh wait, no silence.
We're doing it. Get off the road.
What's going on, everybody? This is Joe.
And Amy.
And we are here for... This isn't Jar, this is... Welcome, everyone, to the Nerd Glasses Podcast. I am your usual co-host, Dave Mann, and I have invited a guest co-host who has appeared in Boder's stead, Joe from Geek4All, and my other good friend, Amy. And Boder is currently enjoying some vacation, and rightfully so, getting some rest. Much love to you, my friend. I hope all is well. And we will be doing the Nerd Glasses Podcast this week with Geek4All. We normally start with some Twitch bans with Boder, and, a big corporation fucked up in a big way, and so we figured that's going to eclipse any streamer showing a nipple or being anti-Semitic and getting what they deserve. Activision-Blizzard, we'll be going more into that story later, but just know that the Twitch ban this week is fuck you, Blizzard, and fuck you, Activision. I usually then segue into a little bit of games that are coming out in the next week. And I actually have two that came out today to chat about. The first one is one that's more stereotypically in Boder's court than it would be in mine or other people's. This is definitely one that we would have also called in past years and past programs a Dan game. Microsoft Flight Simulator, the 2020 video game, is coming to the Xbox and the Series X today. 2020 video game. Yep. But it's... Yes. Oh my goodness, COVID just did everything to the video game industry. What I will say is, if you enjoy flight simulators, Microsoft Flight Simulator is very good, very detailed, and also enormous. You don't have to install all of the content to play the game. Way to go, Microsoft, for realizing that you sold consoles with 500 gigabyte hard drives and 1 terabyte hard drives, and to fill that with one game feels bad, man. But if you like accuracy in flight and things like that, buy it on PC, get a flight stick, and go nuts. If you like flight simulators, if you like the idea of a easy time, not necessarily having to freak out about the plane crashing and this and that and the other, because there really isn't contact physics, and for what there is, your plane then just hits it and falls to the ground and you restart on the ground. Or sometimes at a local airport if you've crashed into the woods. There's no explosions and people ralphing and news reports and all that. But wholehearted endorsement of Flight Simulator. I would love to do a stream of it, because I could definitely do a captain character, and then just, who doesn't want to see a 747 flying upside down from Canada to someplace in Europe where it'll get in one tank, doing loop-de-loops as people cheer bits and do things like that. This sounds like a St. Jude's idea. This is a St. Jude's idea.
On board.
The other game that caught my attention personally was a game that is actually a remaster of a 3DS game in Japan from 2015. I know. Okay, sure. It's current, it's relevant, it's a remaster, but that's been this year in video gaming. The Great Ace Attorney Adventures. It is actually 2 3DS games put together on one PlayStation 4 or Switch game, which tells you how late that game came out, because, but the game came out today worldwide. I will be looking into it. If you are a fan of the Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney franchise, it is just that, but it is a prequel to our titular hero and all of these things. Instead, takes place in the 19th century, dawn of the 20th century, as known as the Meiji period, and in Britain as the Victorian era. It focuses on a new character, previously unintroduced, and has a different style. Not that any of us sitting at this table have any legal experience or anything, but instead in the previous Ace Attorney games, where it is a singular lawyer for each prosecution and defense, and a judge that they are then pleading to or defending against, and then they render a verdict, and that's that. This game actually has a jury and a judge, and the jury are apparently able to, in the middle of the court, like most good movies, just go, he's guilty, and that's how I vote. And if you win majority of the vote, expect to see this game on the weekend Wednesday, because paychecks are incoming, and I have... fuck my bill collectors. And this game looks like so much fun.
Do you get to do voir dire, or
do you get to do what?
None of us have legal experience. Do you get to do voir dire? Do you get to pick the jurors, or are they just there?
They are unfortunately just there.
Oh. Jury of your peers.
Yes, a jury of people who showed up at the time. Actually,
a jury of, as some would put it, a jury of people too stupid to get out of jury duty.
Yep.
I disagree. I would love to be on a jury.
I will say, as it's going to be a stream where we tell lots of stories. So this and the other. But I did in fact get out of jury duty the first and only time I've ever been put to it.
Okay.
I got called. I called in and I said, by the way, I'm up at college. And they said, okay, we'll put you on auxiliary list. They called a month before. They said, we are going to need you to come down. Came down to the court in White Plains. Don't know why I was assigned there.
Wow.
Sat down. They asked me some questions. I gave the dumbest answers I could possibly come up with. And surprise, surprise, they didn't want me on the jury. Just like people don't want me on their other programs. I see you. I see you over there. Doesn't hurt my feelings at all. But that's all the games that are coming out. But that's not the game. You know what? In fact, I'm going to do this to make me feel better.
Oh, there you go. Now we're a triangle.
I'm gonna get. I feel like Boater now. I'm tall and able to see the whole table instead of just this small amount that I goblin-esquely like pat on when I'm sitting here without him. But that's majority of the games that caught my attention. There were a couple indie titles, but there was a lot going on with that whole Activision-Blizzard thing, and then a couple other very interesting events that have happened recently, including one that one of the two of you are going to have to read the title of, because I'm not technically allowed to talk about it on Insane Games TV.
Oh, okay.
In fact, we'll just segue into that. Joe,
Sure.
Could you read the title of this particular Kotaku article that caught my attention? And of course, it just got covered up by the ad for Target.
You're not allowed to say the thing in quotes down there at the bottom? Or you're not allowed to say the event that's occurring right now?
I'm not allowed to say the thing that's in quotes, and it feels like I would be cheating by preempting the rest of the headline.
So, the headline is Olympics commentator tries his best to say Gundam.
And read the subquote there.
Sure. As we take another look at Gundam, the unicorn robot.
That is one of many things that for those of you that don't know and haven't watched television recently, the Olympics are happening. The Olympics that were supposed to happen in 2020, it's 2021, and we're having something has gone very wrong. The unicorn robot, LOL. Actually, ironically enough, that's a part of our set. It was a part of our set. Where the hell did it go? Oh, there it is.
There it is.
Ironically enough, the Gundam that they are riding past in some of the events is that Gundam we have on our set. I said the thing. I'm sorry.
Oh, no.
I'm sorry!
You ruined it.
But that is a piece of our set that they drive past, and the commentator just, for the life of him, could not say the word itself. Could you say the word?
Gundam?
Okay. Couldn't do it. Tried so many times, because again...
he was trying to read it?
He was just trying to say it.
But
and it sounds like there was a producer in his ear going, "Try it again, Marv." Like, give it another try there. Like
he just doesn't know how to pronounce it, or like he just couldn't talk.
It seems like he just can't. He can talk quite eloquently. He's saying all the participants' names, and they are from different countries, and so have different grammatical rules in their names. And he's killing those. He, for some reason, can't talk about the robot that they're driving past in its proper grammatical context. Rafe Wolf, what's going on with the unicorn robot? LOL. Olympics commentary as hosted by everyone's white suburban mom. Oh, there goes the event racers, and boy, howdy are we proud of them. They drank their milk, they took their vitamins, and they definitely didn't have intercourse in the Olympic Village. No siree.
God, I remember when I first heard about that a few years ago, and I was like, oh, cool. It's just one big orgy of athletic people. Got it.
To rehash a story...
Don't judge them.
It's not a judging thing.
To rehash
More
a story
power to
Boder
you.
and I talked about last week, or I mentioned last week with Steve and I, and the three of us did have a good laugh about. Did either of you guys or anyone in chat out there hear about what they did to, COVID's still a thing, and so they didn't want the Olympic athletes to do what they do in the Olympic Village. If you don't know what I'm talking about, look it up. Do you know what measures they took to prevent the athletes from doing
but
doing
I'm
such
very
things?
No, I the only thing I can think of is what they used to do when we would go on trips in middle school and just put like tape on the door. So that like if you would open your door, the tape would come off, and so they'd know.
Teacher comes out in boxer shorts with pizza in their hand. Ha ha! Ooh!
Which I feel like there was a story about in our year where you could call other rooms on the hotel phone, and somebody called one of our friends' rooms to say, oh, they put tape on the door, and the kid goes, really? Let's see. And he opens the door to look to see if there's tape there. The person who was putting tape on the door was still in the hallway, just walked back down, knocked on the door, let themselves in, and was like, you guys are idiots. And just put a new piece of tape on the door and left.
Rafe Wolf refuting the story from last week, saying that, oh, the bed thing is not true. They're cardboard for other reasons. So they put cardboard beds in the rooms. The gag of the story from last week about it is, imagine a bed made of cardboard. Or that scene in The Office where Dwight Schrute's desk is made of cardboard. He places his desk on it, and it breaks to a million pieces. Rafe Wolf, I did see that clip of 9 people standing on the beds. It's also to do with the fact that Japan doesn't have a lot of natural resources of their own. And, things are a little bit stretched right now with everything going on. But, so the gag is, can't do things on a cardboard bed if it's just going to collapse if there's multiple on you. But, again, as spoken about last week, they were set to make sure that athletes who are, bodybuilders wouldn't just lay on them and they'd blow to pieces. But yes, as Rafe Wolf hath shined through our joke there, 9 people can stand on one of those cardboard beds. People can do the nasty and the pasty.
Fair enough.
To quote, in fact, the beds can support 440 pounds and are reported sturdier than wood. While cardboard beds have long been established for use as makeshift beds in disaster shelters, the Tokyo Olympics introduced the beds as an eco-friendly gesture.
It just sounds uncomfortable to me.
Yeah, I mean, I'm assuming there's a mattress of some kind on it.
There's a pad and like the blankets and everything. It's not just cardboard and a pillow.
I was gonna say.
I mean,
I feel like to force athletes to do that right.
Here's
before
your
they have-
cardboard slab.
I was actually just going to say, as a former, despite what you may see, as a former college athlete to a degree myself, I am fully aware of the fact that when we would cram an entire team full of people into 2 hotel rooms and half of us would sleep on the floor and wake up the next morning feeling like our spines were in our throats and then have to go compete, it's probably not the best idea to have like really uncomfortable beds
No.
before athletic competition like that, but
That stuff is important.
what do I know?
I can also picture some of the countries that don't necessarily need to get any medals this year walking over and going, "We're out. Pack it up. We're not both getting COVID and having our asses be uncomfortable. We're out of here."
It's like, well, let's just see if we could sleep in the rental van.
Well, they do have mattresses on them, says Rafe Wolf. And what's going on, Alec? And welcome everyone who tunes into the stream. So that was just a funny little thing that I discovered. The Tokyo Olympics, by the way, they are about 12 hours away from us. So events are either pre-taped and shown live, or you can watch them at, ungodly hours for us, or you could be watching streamers during those hours, by the way. So just pluggity plugs. So many great stories coming out of the Olympics this year, though. There really are. I'm glad to hear that athletes who train for years and years to be at the peak of their physical performance and things like that can then go to the pinnacle of these events to then make their name for shitting in unconventional places and things like that. It's some of my favorite things to come out of that, where and the Olympics embraces it. Mm-hmm. They're like, by the way, we're your fun uncle in sports. We have horses, we have bodybuilders, and we have competitive poops. Ray Wolf noting Philippines did receive their first gold medal, and that athlete well earned it, because the weightlifting competitions, by the way, are super tough. Those athletes do not quit, and they do not do anything but their best, especially at those events. So much love and congratulations. Anti-Claus Prime, what's going on, duder? 13-year-old skateboarder. Actually, here at the store, we did watch all of the collegiate athletes competing to join the collegiate and adult athletes competing to join the U.S. Olympics team for skateboarding. It was a lot of fun. Geek4All getting a shout out from Alec, having to go, AFK for a moment while they drive. That's
safe. Good.
Some really good stuff coming out. Yes, wholeheartedly agree. Rafe, I would love it if you could hang out with us until we chat about the Activision-Blizzard thing, because I would love some of your input on the topic when we get to it, especially your perspective being a streamer and a person engendered in the persecuted class by the lawsuit. We will, however... I'm glad you're tuning in regardless, but I'm glad that part of it that was something that would then tune you in. It lets me know that stories like this are something that would bring people to tune into the stream. So for those of you that weren't aware, there was a game released called New World. And as any beta does, it was a closed beta, not many people were invited, things like that happened. And there were some parameters and some problems with the game where it would start up and then it would literally fry people's high-end GPUs and things like that.
Awesome.
Now, if for those of you that are not in the computing world, there's a chip shortage on, and if you can get things, definitely do, and then tell your good old friend Dave here how you can get some upgrade parts for his computer for free. Free 99 would be great. But, new really high-end graphics cards, obviously older ones were also bricking, but Amazon and EVGA will be replacing all the RTX 3090 cards, which were specifically targeted by some of these errors and things like that. They'll be replacing them, so fret ye not. You don't have them now, and you probably won't have them soon, but...
Yeah, I was going to say that.
Yeah, that sucks, man.
Yeah, especially, if you were part of the closed beta, so maybe you were a member of the gaming community, you were a streamer, something like that, and now you have to waiting through all the red tape of Amazon to be able to get your thing,
No, Amazon can be fast. But for things like this...
But for things that you've paid for.
Right. For things like this where I feel like they're just kind of there with their tail between their legs, it's going to be a while. And as you said, there's a shortage. So...
Yeah.
Yikers.
Yeah, that
Hopefully
sucks.
you don't make money off of those computer parts that you need right now.
God forbid.
Amy, you have this very nice computer. You get invited to a closed beta of a game. You open the game and it bricks your computer. What personally do you do? What's your reaction action.
Scream a lot, probably. Amazon's chat that they have, their customer service chat, is helpful if you can figure out how to get to it. They do a great job of hiding it. I assume if there's that many people with that problem, it would not be very helpful, because I assume there's not enough people manning that chat to deal with an issue such as this.
I am really glad to hear that it was the closed beta, and not like, for example, like the game's release, like full release, because then it's in the wild and there's things, and then people can start using the files to send to people to bomb their computers. Don't do that. Don't mess up people's computers.
I'm just assuming that because it's an Amazon thing, that there was a decent number of people doing this beta.
Usually, so betas can be, especially for a larger size company, there was probably a couple thousand people invited to it. Yes. Well, it's a lot, especially considering that there aren't like 1,000 3090s just kind of floating around. Except if you check on eBay, there's thousands there. You can get them for a house payment, a house. Probably swap it for something else. But speaking of...
By the way, I saw the hello from Start 9 Riots to Amy and I, so hello. Go ahead.
Speaking of which, Newegg recently had to thank an 11-year-old Florida boy found an error on Newegg's website that allowed him to get around the NVIDIA RTX 3090 graphics cards lottery. Many other people had, but this particular person purchased it and then alerted Newegg to what they were doing, which was simply to go on Newegg's mobile app, open the custom build a computer through them, add the 3090, and right before you check out, just take everything but the 3090 out of your cart and then check out just with the 3090.
Nice.
I see.
Awesome.
Newegg has thanked the 11-year-old Florida man, as they are now in the ethos of so busy, so many things going on, so many gators. But if you have $729 floating around and burning a hole in your pocket, I mean, try it. You might get one. I'll never fault anybody for giving it a shot, because my gourd, good, the stream computer just the good news is we are
it figured itself out.
It did. It really did. This IBM ThinkPad has worked a lifetime and a half to go through. As we had talked about previously on many programs, either reaction from you guys, from chat, for Florida Man, getting graphics cards that some people were literally spending thousands on to get their hands on.
I guess the interesting thing is, when you first mentioned, before you mentioned the ins and outs of what it actually, like how he went about it, which seems very convoluted and doesn't seem like something that could have been exploited if you knew the right things to do. It seems like the story itself, just the headline, seems like it could be the kind of thing where it was like he found an error, but it really was just the way that they tell the people that they want to be able to get these items before anybody else and like create a scarcity.
You dare to say that companies do favors for people and don't give everyone just the place them all in the middle of the room and go, run!
No, I would never say such a thing.
How dare you, sir? Amy, reaction. The scandalous Star 9 Riots, Rafe Wolf, to Joe's accusations of favoritism.
Yeah.
Perhaps Perhaps some sort of nepotism in our midst.
I'll curl my mustache up, make everybody feel better about themselves. I'm the evil one.
I support 11-year-olds.
I mean, I also support 11-year-olds, but that's my job to do so.
Yeah, I mean, like, I don't know. Well, but I will say, right, the way that I put it was for that reason that seems like a very weird workaround that I don't think was purposefully put in there for that reason. It just, you know, the fact that the kid was able to do it, props, but...
What's going on, CJ? And I start everyone's, how dare you, Joe? How dare you?
Yeah, well, you know, like I said, I can be the villain. I don't mind.
You can be a villain in the case of corporate favoritism.
Yeah, somebody had to do it, I guess.
So, the one thing I will say is there's definitely more of them than there were like a month ago. So... Hooray! I just need to win that lottery to get a better streaming computer. And I will win the lottery because I will start buying lottery tickets next month.
There you go.
Next month. I'll start playing the lottery because then I can win the lottery if you play it. But if you don't play, you can't win.
Correct. That's the
I'm pretty sure that was a whole ad campaign.
I was going to say that's a slight bastardization of the tagline, but yeah, that's...
I was going to say, like, is that not the message they wanted my yokel white ass to get as I wander through Stewart's getting milk and donuts because I'm an adult?
Pretty much.
Conventions are coming up. I'm very excited to see if conventions are able to open safely and with clear and present guidelines and things like that. And unfortunately, Penny Arcade, PAX, Penny Arcade Express, Penny Arcade Expo, as it's known by its many names, had originally released some information over here and then released some information over here. Although there's still time before it starts, so it's not like it's the day before where they're calling audibles and things like that. And as an aside, for anyone who tuned into the Nerd Glasses this week, I would like to give you a heads up that keep those masks handy, even if you're vaccinated. If you live in New York State, memos were circulated at some people's jobs. Just a heads up. Society is doing the thing it does best.
Yeah, the convention stuff is got to be so tough because you have so many working parts when it comes to a convention that I'm not even going to sit here and pretend that I even understand all the working parts that go into it. But you have bookings of talent that are going to be draws for the event. So like celebrity guests or cameos or panelists or whatever you want to call it. Then you have vendors that are planning like what product they're going to be bringing with them if it's a particular event that's at a particular time and there's new products coming out around then. They may be attempting to order a lot more of it if they're then staffing a table of some kind or having product for those tables. And you have the convention goers themselves. You have as the like creators or runners of the event to talk to the like attractions that you're paying to be there. You probably have to a degree, try to guarantee them a certain number of attendees so that they know approximately how many people are going to be coming to see them or get autographs or pictures or things like that. And if you have to give these people notice of some kind. I'm not saying that they're doing anything wrong because COVID effed up a lot of things for a lot of people.
Yeah.
Both business-wise and health and family-wise. Like that, let's not ignore that side of it either. But it just means that there's so many moving parts. So I don't understand unless they being people who run conventions, period, PAX or otherwise. I can't imagine that anybody who's attempting to run a convention right now would not be changing things at the last minute. And I would hope that there would be people who would be somewhat understanding of that because of the fact that we're in such uncharted territory right now. And some of these people need to make the money to continue running their business. Some of these people want to get back to conventions so that they can see their friends and family and You know, whatever
Have a
the
sense
case.
of community.
Thank you. The community. That's a much better way of putting that. It just the fact that so many things are going sideways for whatever reason that you want to say that those things are going sideways, because there are some things more obvious than others. Things have to be changed, and it sucks for everybody. Because if you want to go to a convention because it's fun and you want to go back to conventions and you've done everything right leading up to that point, there's a lot more moving parts than just you being able to go and see a lot of cool people and events and buy cool things or whatever, get exclusives, etc. So it sucks a lot. And I'm glad that conventions are deciding to do the right thing, and if they have made some type of announcement, having to walk it back sucks, and having to kind of tuck your tail between your legs and apologize for it sucks. But at the same time, it's better than not doing it by a lot.
Yeah, because I'm just thinking about cons on a regular basis, how frequently and how the number of people that just get sick with whatever
Con crud is what it's called.
after going to a con.
Yep.
You know, when it has nothing to do with a pandemic.
Mhm.
So, I mean, this is scary.
Yeah.
This
Yeah.
is scary.
It is. It is. Well, and again, the idea of even just the concentration of people in a city for a large convention. That city, because you're then, first of all, it's important to the city for the economy of the local
Track season, Saratoga. Sorry, that was caught in my throat.
But like the people that are going to like patronize those businesses and those hotels and restaurants and things like that, those businesses are losing out on that. But if it were being done in a not safe way, they'd have to close down anyway, because the whole city would be inundated with new cases or hybrid strains or whatever they're being called, like the alternate strains of the virus. So you have to tread very carefully, and or, as I'm sure some people believe, just keep waiting.
Don't tread.
Right. But there I'm sure are some people who are clamoring for it either out of need or out of like very strong desire to get back to that degree of whatever the word normalcy means these days.
Yeah. Well, like we said before, that sense of community means a lot, especially to people who for the last year and a half at this point, haven't had that, you know, or longer even, depending on the last con that they were actually able to go to.
Sure.
I mean, that's the kind of thing that'll mess with your mental health. You know, we're talking about the physical health aspect of
Yes.
COVID.
Well, I was going to say,
you know,
well,
add in the mental health aspect of being isolated.
right. Well, hey, you know, thankfully there haven't been enough things in the past year plus that have messed with your mental health. We were overdue for one of those. It's good. Please note my son. Please.
So the notice that PAX West specifically added was that entrants at PAX West this year will have to show proof of COVID vaccination, and if they do not have, they will either have to show proof of having taken a test, negative COVID-19 PCR or antigen test, each to be verified with a valid government issue ID.
And I assume that will have to be within a certain window of the date
Yes.
that it occurs.
Which many people looking through the tweets and things like that said that they were happy about and relieved with. And then there was a population who voiced displeasure in the fact that that restrictions were added, rules were changed, and that you know, some people were saying, how do I get refunds? I don't want to go anymore. Or some people saying, I can't do this or that or the other thing. And, you know, obviously exclusions apply. The exception to every rule is what proves the rule itself. So there are cases left, right, and center of but this one person or but this group of people or this and that and the other. And the reality is that I'm glad to hear that especially PAX, a company that can brush aside organizations and groups and things like that, because let's be honest, they're big and they don't have to worry about individuals, but they are instead worrying about the individuals. They are worrying about health and safety. I mean, the word super spreader isn't very friendly to have tacked onto your events, because that would definitely trend on Twitter.
Yeah.
PAX super spreader
Among plenty of
2022.
other things.
But regardless of your opinion on vaccinations and things like that, personally, as one half of the host of this program, I am glad to hear that they are doing something instead of nothing. CJ Playmaker, echoing a lot of the sentiments, but it has sucked not making any conventions, but at the same time, I know I cannot rush back to it with limited safety measures.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, because no matter how much you want it, you have to think practically and safely, and that's the most important thing for everyone individually, and again for these convention runners as well, because like you said, even if the motivation for them as the corporation that's running it, even if the motivation is we don't want the bad press, the ends in that way can still justify the means, that they're not putting hundreds to thousands of people in danger of getting very ill, and or bringing back some disease to get their family and friends ill. It's just welcome to what everyone's been living with for over a year now.
Rafe Wolf, in hindsight, PAX East last year was super sketch, and I'm glad that they wound up being okay, LOL.
It was very close.
And I'm grateful they have vaccine requirements. CJ Playmaker, I've been to baseball games, but outside of those conventions, unless if it's certain ones, they are mostly indoors. Well, also, let's be totally honest. This year, of all the major corporations, MLB has seemingly been on top of their shit, and good on you, MLB, for being socially conscious, for being health conscious, and for giving us Shohei Ohtani, because we want more Shohei Ohtani, goddammit. I'm saying it, everyone's thinking it, most people are tweeting it. But speaking of corporations, because now we've really leaned in, and we're getting closer. We're a little bit over our halfway mark, and I wanted to make sure to emphasize this, because this is a story that affects me personally as a streamer, as a fan of gaming, and also as a content creator, as many of you folks out there, Rafe Wolf, I know especially as someone that plays World of Warcraft and has for a very long time. And any of you out there that do have opinions on this matter, we would love to hear them. But for those of you who are unaware, we did actually talk about this on Nerd Glasses, that California was looking into some of the reports against Activision-Blizzard, accusations made, stories levied, reports filed, and things like that. And, well, where there's smoke, there's court cases. And so Activision-Blizzard is going to find themselves not fighting Epic Games, not fighting Apple, not fighting another corporate entity, but instead a state where their organization is based out of. You fucked up real bad when the state that collects taxes from your organization being based out of their state decides, ooh, you're doing what now? Yeah. I will read a little bit from an email that was distributed by one Mr. J. Allen Brickabrack, J. Allen Buxton, J. Allen Brack, the president of Blizzard. Because as much as I want to go to bat for Blizzard and say it's all Activision's fault and this and that and the other,
His last name should be Walk It Back.
Well,
Nicely
I'm sure he
done.
won't.
Nicely
but I'll let you read it.
so the question is, should I read this in the style that he delivered his last address during the last BlizzCon, where where he had to respond to the fact that they banned all of those streamers and responded to Free Tibetan, this and that and the other with where we're not dealing with it.
Yes,
and he came up and he said, and we're going to do better. Because, hello, Blizzard. I personally have a lot of emotions coming out of yesterday, and I know you do too. The allegations and the hurt of current and former employees is extremely troubling. I know many of you would like to receive more clarity. Period. While I can't comment on the specifics of this case, as it is an open investigation, what I can say is that the behavior detailed in the allegations is completely unacceptable.
Yeah, no shit.
And then he proceeds to corporate-wise walk it back, like he did last time and like he does every other time they get caught doing the things that happen within their company. Man alive! There have been people coming out of the woodwork who formerly worked for Blizzard, who formerly founded companies and this and that and the other, and everyone's response is, we're sorry. We're sorry. Sorry. And I do this with a little bit of levity because it's infuriating as for me personally, as somebody that has enjoyed specifically the Blizzard title Overwatch and dedicated a couple years of every single Friday streaming that game because it brought my friends and I together in a way that other games didn't and connected us in ways that other titles hadn't. And now I'm just not touching it with a 10-foot pole because it doesn't feel like a game that touts the world could use more heroes when a company says, we're sorry and we're going to walk back on things that we're accused of. Now, I get it. As a corporation, you can't just outright do one thing or the other because you are then legally liable for those things and you have to make sure to CYA. And it's not talking about covering your AstroTurf. But when you have a fatality of one of your employees, current or past, because of actions done by your current or past employees, and you do... Oh, what was it that they did? What was it that they did there? Did they... Nothing! They did nothing! I can be hurt, I can be offended because my video game time, and I really had a great time with it. And I don't like that the thing that I like is no longer very fun to play. And I can throw as big a temper tantrum as I like. But my time is one thing. But a human being's life, an employee's mental health is an entirely different matter, ignored by and to throw in, we have talked about different other companies having these issues and things like that, but it's Activision-Blizzard's turn in the spotlight, and especially the fact that they have brought about and been accused of the things that they've been accused of in such a way. You have really screwed the pooch. And you have really earned all of the ichor that you get from the internet and all of the bad press that you receive. And I hope you do. And I hope your management teams that weren't doing anything wrong, that weren't doing anything illegal, that had employees in meetings while they were present and while HR brushed sexual harassment under the rug, that brushed flagrant violations of workers' rights, that brushed human rights violations, let alone crunch that occurs with Activision-Blizzard, as many other video game companies. To those of you out there that are saying, but. A human life was lost because of errant and negligent management practices, and because of the term, boys will be boys, and the term, and many other just unacceptable company policies and things like that. So, Bracky, really excited that once again I got to tout my appreciation for your products and things like that, and am once again rewarded with a turd witch that I can't even begin to process swallowing. Chat is blowing up on this. Many other people have left. Surprise, surprise. Heavy news is heavy, and people don't like to hear about it. And I understand if heavy news is what would you tune in for, especially on Twitch and things like that. Escapism is a reality. But this is something that affects a lot of us.
Look, and hell, it could also be like just triggering for some people to hear these kinds of stories.
Absolutely. The title kind of gave away the content, though, so I won't say that didn't necessarily give people proper warning, because we teased it, and then we teased it, and then we introduced it. Rafe Wolf, Activision blames and denies. Blizzard blames, says, oh, we're past and haha are bad. And the WoW team says, this is shit, and we're going to change it. I'm glad that they're saying it. Well,
because Rafe Wolf's point is that the dichotomy between the statements from the different companies is crazy.
Absolutely. Saying is one thing, doing is a whole nother. Yeah. Think the employee signing a petition has 2,000 employees and alumni signatures on it now, and that's before the walkout tomorrow.
That's the hashtag ActiBlizz walkout.
Actually, ironically enough, tomorrow was going to be an Overwatch stream for the Weekend Wednesday, and it sure as shit ain't going to be. As I announced on my channel personally, Fridays are going to be Jackbox games and other such things that we can then enjoy as a community without supporting until actual change is elicited, because it needs to happen. The other reason you can tell these things are affecting Activision-Blizzard is if you look on their Twitters, on their Instagrams, things like that. The individual broadcasters, the individual content creators, as they have to for their numbers and things like that, are generating posts and things like that. But corporate-wise, it is the quietest it has literally ever been.
That sounds right.
In the WoW team / devs are stripping references to problematic employees, but that's only the lobby dev team at WoW can do without big corporate oversight. Change is happening at the smaller levels, but you and I have to wait for the board / shareholders to kick out the bigwigs. And that is the overarching issue. The accusation and the investigations found that management level people, and not local management, not exclusive to local management, but overall larger management pieces that oversee many different facets, that oversee hundreds of employees, if not thousands, were turning a blind eye to, frankly, inexcusable behavior from an individual, let alone a group, and let alone a corporation. If you want actual specifics and more of these things, please do feel free. Every organization, every news media is covering this at great detail, and they have connections that I don't and won't, and things like that. But CJ, this is again another sucker punch I've taken the past year off that could have just dealt with if those involved would actually be responsible and treated those around them like people.
God forbid.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, and that's the other thing too, is, you were talking about people coming out and speaking out about people who currently work for the company, people who used to work for the company, in like lower level areas where they can't really individually exact change. Hence why we're seeing this walkout coming out tomorrow, because being able to join together and say to the management, your response to this is also unacceptable. But I mean, think about it. For other content creators and etc., most people that go to work for Activision-Blizzard at a lower level capacity are doing so because they're passionate about gaming, because they're passionate about Activision games, Blizzard games, etc. And to have a person like that go into this field that they're passionate about and that they enjoy and that they love, and then to have all of these things happen to them to take that passion from them, where the appropriate thing to say to somebody is, hey, never give up on your dreams, never let anybody steal your dreams from you. I've heard that many times. My parents were extremely supportive of anything that I ever wanted to do, and I thank them for that all the time. But if you then go into this type of corporate environment and are met with this, how did those tenets, those statements, they can lose meaning pretty quickly, because you're not being supported by the corporation in the way that you want to be to fulfill your dreams. And it sucks that it's, at best, you're losing your passion, and at worst, the story that Dave was talking about the person that unfortunately took their own life. And again, there are a lot of things in between those too, but
A lot of things.
Yeah, because again, you lose your passion, but do you have to seek professional therapy help after the fact? Do you have to change professions entirely? There's probably a lot more than that as well, obviously, but Aim, do you?
And I mean, with any kind of abuse, you're gonna need to seek therapy, and abuse in the abuse at your job is very different, because now you're being forced to go back there every single day, or every single work day, I'll say, and face these people who have done terrible things to you and are not suffering any consequences for it. There's no one you can go to, and that's it.
Yeah.
There's no one you can go to, period. You can go to the cops, I guess,
and
try to do something about it.
Because we've even heard stories of people who are former employees who have said, yeah, well, there were issues, and so I went to HR and I reported it, and either it was swept under the rug, nothing happened, etc., or it would actually get to the point where they would say, well, you know what, it's probably easier to just fire you, person who made the complaint, because, we don't want to have to deal with all of this.
Right.
There's a real easy way for you to not have to deal with all of this. There's a different person you could fire so that they don't just find a different victim. But
and the thing
who am
of
I,
it
right?
is, there's laws in place for a reason that correspond with this.
Yep.
So you would think that they would want to, follow those, but I guess not.
Nah. It's easier to pretend like you'll never get caught, right? You used that phrase earlier. If you never get caught, it's a lot easier for you for however long it is until you get caught. And then you have to try to spin and dodge and do all these things and, point the finger at somebody else.
Well, and it's amazing the lengths that people will go to do things that they shouldn't be doing when they're in an environment that fosters that kind of behavior.
Yeah.
It's actually incredible.
Yep.
Rafe Wolf bringing up cogent points as well. If you don't agree with you get blackmailed and blackballed from the industry. If you raise a stink, you can get no letter of recommendation, and the company speaks about you in dev shows behind the scenes, which there has been a lot of documentation of. So, people need to put up and shut up or lose out on their whole career, especially when it comes to these larger corporations. And imagine that, being some of these people that their whole wanton whim was to work for a big company and make a big video game or be on an art design team or these things. And then you have to retrain your entire life up until that point, seemingly on a dime, because bills don't just take a field day, because as unfortunate as it is, but our world does not value mental health and does not necessarily properly help those that need it, partially because corporations could not handle the reality of the world around them, and partially because it's the way it's always been done. Fold arms and nod. So, again...
Well, and partially just, like, being complacent or apathetic, like, just seeing people as numbers or machines to get you to your monetary goal, as opposed to the people that they in fact are.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to where and seeing what this does. I can't help but notice that some of the games are chugging along as per usual. I mean, as a giant machine would, and these things are. But I will be interested to see how corporately they respond and how long this takes to actually get in court.
That takes forever. I can say for folks who may be wondering, because I always try to ask myself this when things like this come up, where, you know, I'm not going to sit here and pretend, as lovely as the Garnted Cult is to Geek4All all the time, and we really, really appreciate each and every one of you, and Dave for giving us opportunities to join him in many of these things. I'm not going to pretend that we have any kind of reach in the gaming industry by any means. And so when things like this come up, the question is like, what can we do? And so besides talking about it and raising the awareness, there's not a ton, but I know that, for example, it was trending earlier today on Twitter, so I saw it, and Amy and I were discussing it back at the apartment. Hashtag ActiBlizz walkout, Blizz with 2 Z's, listed the demands that the workers are seeking. It's like a 4-point demands that demand structure that they've made, and they are. I'm
surprised it's only the 4, to be honest with you.
They're good points.
I think they're incredibly reasonable.
Yeah. Yeah, they are.
Especially considering what happened.
Yes. And that in addition to those 4 points, of course, for those of us who are, you know, plebs on the low end of things, that all that they ask us to do is to not play any of those games in particular tomorrow during the walkout. That's your way to not cross the picket line, so to speak. There are others, as Dave mentioned, who have chosen to just cut that out in general, and that's also totally fine. That will just go along with that thing of not playing it tomorrow. But if you can hold off playing Activision-Blizzard games tomorrow, specifically, so as not to cross the picket line, if that's something that you would like to do to support the people that are going through this walkout so that they can get that message out to the execs or the higher up folks, to get them to understand that this is a serious issue and it's not something that when those people stop yelling about it, it's just going to go away. That's a way to do that, to alert them to that fact. So.
And if you decide to play tomorrow, cool beans! Thanks! Have a good one! Don't come back here!
Well, I was going to say, realize too that people will notice that. Right. Because, especially on Twitch at least, you can search for a particular game. So if you're streaming it, I mean, obviously if you're just playing it, and you're at your home privately, no one's going to know but you, unless you tell them. But unless you're in an Overwatch game and you end up playing with somebody and they see your username or whatever, that's a different story. But on Twitch, that can be searched for. And I'm sure that there will be people who would be interested in going to those streams and asking those streamers, why are you streaming today? Why are you playing this game right now? There are people who are in this walkout, etc. And whether you feel that that's appropriate or not, that is the way I'm sure that some people would want to try to make themselves feel like they could do something to impact that.
I would think, and I don't know if there's been talk of this at all. I assume there has been. I don't know. But I would think that if you live in the area, just go and join the picket line.
I don't know if it's an actual picket line. I mean, it's called a walkout, I would assume, but I don't know.
Because, as you said, these are human rights violations. These are crimes that were committed.
Yeah.
These weren't just, well, this company's bad.
Right, or he said a mean thing to me.
Right.
Jalen Brack said a mean tweet.
So a way to support those people would be to actually physically go and support those people if you're close enough where that would be a possibility.
Right.
Again, I don't know.
If we start driving, we'll be a week late.
Worth it, though. But, yeah, I mean, wouldn't that be cool to be able to go and do that for them?
Show solidarity with them in that way.
Because it's about the human race telling companies that they need to listen.
Right. If no one else is going to, right? If other people who make those types of decisions aren't going to be the ones to do it. Yep.
And if you disagree with these things, please keep your opinions. Please communicate them as you see fit, and to groups that you feel comfortable communicating them with. Just know your scaly skin will start showing underneath your human mask at that point. But I looked up the four
Demands.
intent as they will be. Demands is what they will be called from the corporation standpoint, as they have to be, because it is a walkout, it is a hostile act against such things. Because I have participated in a walkout for a company I worked for. It was not comfortable. Nobody was happy. Nobody likes doing this, but you have to send a message. As a tenured employee of an organization that didn't get a contract, I got to stand right in front of people who then knew exactly who I was and knew what I stood for and knew what I was doing. And then, thank God, there were intelligent people that had actual things that they wanted, and I just stood there with a sign yelling. I'm gonna lie, walkouts are kind of fun, especially when you actually have a point. But the things that they are asking for is, first and primarily, an end to mandatory arbitration clauses in all employee contracts, current and future. Arbitration clauses protect abusers and limit the ability of victims to seek restitution.
That one, I want to make a point about that one, because that mandatory arbitration clause is probably in every hiring contract that I have ever signed, and probably is in every hiring contract that any of you have ever signed. It is a standard ass thing for companies to require.
But unfortunately, like most things, they can be abused.
Because if you have mandatory arbitration, an issue arises, a report is made, arbitration begins between someone in HR and the parties interested, and then the company gets to close the book on it and say that it's done because arbitration occurred. And in the court of law also, after arbitration occurs, you don't really have a leg to stand on for some of the things. I know, but it's tougher. Number 2, the adoption of recruiting, interviewing, hiring, and promotion policies designed to improve representation among employees at all levels, agreed upon by employees in a company-wide diversity, equality, and inclusion organization. Current practices have led to women, in particular, women of color and transgendered women, non-binary people, and other...
Marginalized.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
It is, I work for over 12 hours, and then I do this stream.
No worries.
Marginalized groups that are vulnerable to gender discrimination, not being hired fairly for new roles when compared to men. I don't really get to talk about this because I am who I am and I was born how I'm born, and also my last name is Man, so I can joke about it, but in all seriousness, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's a pretty standard thing that I feel like people have been fighting for a long time, and who knows, we still might be for a long time.
Yeah.
Which sucks.
Rafe Wolf slams fist on table. Give unions! Flips table out window. Give unions! Arbitration is so useful if both employees have the same backing. But not if they don't. And by the way, if you look at the reports.
Yeah.
Number 3.
This one I like a lot.
Publication of data on relative compensation, including equity grants and profit sharing, promotion rates, and salary ranges for employees of all genders and ethnicities at the company. Current practices have led to aforementioned groups not being paid or promoted fairly.
Yeah, I mean, it's, the discussion of the wage gap in general, the gender pay gap in general, but also just, even within the same time period of people being hired, you don't have to say Dave makes this much money and Amy makes that much money minus $50,000 or whatever it is. They're not asking for posting specific people's salaries. They're asking for data. So that at least if you say a person who is on this rung of the ladder makes an average of this, well, now you know what's happening one way or another, so that you can say, okay, I'm being hired by this company. I should expect to earn an average of this much money. If I'm entering, it's my first day or whatever, maybe I'm not getting that amount of money, but it's an average. And I guess the problem is you'd have to have someone verifying that, because you can just post whatever the hell you want. Say, oh yeah, the average is definitely this, don't worry about it. Meanwhile, the people who are benefiting from being above that average, you have to have some type of check on it to make sure that it's legitimate, because I could post whatever numbers I want and make them look as nice as I want, because statisticians can absolutely be paid to make those numbers look good for you.
Right.
So,
well, and that's definitely a thing that, I mean, is another aspect of that human race against companies, telling companies you need to listen, you need to do these basic things.
Yep.
Because all of these things are fairly standard, what you expect to see from companies, at least in this country, even though none of them are things that, in my mind, are reasonable. And apparently, there's now very blatant proof that they're not reasonable because of the things that come of these things. I mean, it's...
Yep.
By the by, if you're so curious, if you work for the state, if you work for educational organizations, your annual salary gets listed online, and it's accurate. Just as a heads up.
Yeah, I think I learned that through colleges as well, because if they're getting federal grants or anything, or federal money, they have to by law.
Yes.
So same idea.
But companies don't have that responsibility.
No, and they would not want that. That's
of course not.
That's anti
Because
what they want.
They can exploit whatever they want to if they're not being forced to actually do things.
If your employer goes out of the way to tell you not to discuss your paycheck, you should talk about your paycheck a lot then, because there's probably something weird going on.
Yeah,
As a heads up.
Yeah, it may not affect you specifically, but it's going on somewhere, right? So be aware of that.
And our fourth point, and thank you for hanging out with us, folks. We are definitely going into extra innings, as they say, and I'll make the fourth point, and then, but there will be a Danny NASCAR stream after this, so stick in for that, because if you haven't watched Danny NASCAR, as somebody that's been watching it since it started, you are missing out on good Twitch content. So, point number 4. Empower a company-wide diversity, equality, and inclusion task force to hire a third party to audit ABK's reporting, structure, HR department, and executive staff. It is imperative to identify how current systems have failed to prevent employee harassment and to propose new solutions to address these issues.
Not for nothing, but that is way late.
That is basic shit.
If they,
That is...
yeah, there's a lot of companies these days that are already doing that because of, I don't know, gestures at the world. And
or
the fact
are beyond the point of having to have a task force for such a thing.
Sure. Yeah, it's late. It's late that they have to even ask for it. Without naming names, the company I work for has had an initiative like that for a fair amount of time. I'm aware of it. They make it very apparent, and they discuss it often, and they send out surveys and things like that to make sure that the employees are satisfied and they understand what's going on. They have meetings about it all the time. It's important. It's kind of a big deal. It always was, but now that people's eyes are being open to it, I'm very surprised. I mean, I guess I'm sorry. After I read all that I read, I wasn't surprised, but I would have been surprised to hear that this wasn't just a relatively standard thing at most companies. But I also understand to a degree that Silicon Valley in Cali is kind of a bit of the Wild West with new developing things. So,
well, and companies will get away with what they can get away with. So that's why I'm saying I think it's really important that everybody say something about this. It's not just the people who work there or used to work there. It's all of us saying this is unacceptable for Blizzard. It's unacceptable for any company to be doing this. So no, you're not allowed to anymore.
yeah.
You're just not.
Yeah.
The walkout will take place on Wednesday, July 28th from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. Staff will meet in front of the main gate of the Blizzard campus. They will not enter the Blizzard campus due to current COVID health and regulation security measures. Parking should be restricted to an open parking area in Building 5 and 6 area, the Laguna Canyon Road, for those of you who are out that way, as there is no gate to access it, which means it is open to the public, per se. Employees unable to meet in person that may lend their voice to the walkout by stopping work and by sharing their participation on social media with the hashtag ActiBlizzWalkout hashtag. If you belong to a different studio, please feel free to customize the hashtag YourStudioWalkout.
Nice. Okay.
That's cool.
That is cool.
The employees have also provided us with ways in which the community can help. Those who wish to show support can by making a donation to charity. They can also signal boost by using the hashtag ActiBlizzWalkout by using the blue heart emoji. That is tomorrow from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. I will definitely be doing that on my lunch break is when that's going to start, and I'll make sure to lend my voice and my support to what I believe and I personally carry is unacceptable behavior on the behalf of a corporation and on behalf of something that I enjoy greatly and gave a lot of credence and strength to. Rafe Wolf sharing a tweet, details on one of the WoW walkouts planned. I'm sure other games have other walkout info. I'm hoping so, but this is not a topic that's going to go away. This is not a topic we are going to stop talking about. On Nerd Glasses, Boder and I have been able to hold our heads high and talk about these issues and be wrong sometimes, correct ourselves, learn from the things that are said, the things that are done, and things like that. If you have opinions on these matters, if you have stories that you feel passionate about, if you have events in your life and things like that, please feel free to bring them to our attention on the Discord down below, in chat during the streams. Please know you are supported, and please know that you are cared for, but please also know that although many people on social media platforms speak very eloquently, speak very with great strength and great conviction, that the people you follow on Twitch, on average, are not mental health professionals, that the person you watch on television that plays a doctor and things like that are usually just that, a character on a television show. Please take care of yourself. Please do what you need to do to care for yourself so that you can do what is needed to better the world around you in whatever way you can. Little steps are the start of any big journey. Activision-Blizzard has fucked up, and I look greatly forward to California, who is already incredibly tired of having corporations representing video games tying up their court systems with things. I look greatly forward to seeing and reporting in future streams as to what is going on those. But I want, is there anything left on the topic for you guys that...
I would just say, if you've experienced abuse, please seek help. It's imperative for your well-being. And as he said, we support you and we care about you, and that's why I'm asking you to.
Yeah, and if you, I guess if you know someone that has expressed anything like that to you, encourage them to do the same. Don't push, but encourage. Show them support, show them you're there for them, and that's all you can do. But, maybe you can do some research on your own in terms of giving them suggestions or recommendations of places they can go. But that's probably about the extent of it. And, that's what I would have to say as well.
So, I'm going to grab something off of set, but to close, I'm very excited for tomorrow's stream for the Weekend Wednesday. What it will be, I don't know. No, it could be The Witcher. We just started it last week. We just got to the open world part. It was kind of fun. People have been honking at me to do a full music stream. That could be on the cards. There are many other games and many other companies that I can play with and things like that. But so in Insane Games TV, please make sure to hit that follow button. Please make sure to ring that bell so you get notified every time we go live. 11 different streamers, 7 days a week worth of content. And as the world opens back up, you have no idea what we have in store for you. Don't miss out and don't be a bystander. Turning into streams is not that hard, and just lurking makes a big difference for a lot of folks. But you guys have a channel and you guys do things. What's going on in that facet and world?
Oh, sure. So I'll happily talk about that. So we are Geek4All. For those of you who may not know who we are, I am Joe.
And I'm Amy.
And we have 3 different YouTube channels at the time of this stream. But the main one, just youtube.com/Geek4All. It'll give you directions to all the others. That's Geek, the number 4, all. And you can find all of our stuff there.
There is a channels tab to find the other channels that
Correct.
are associated with us.
Correct, right up at the top. But you can, Dave was talking about the number of streamers and et cetera on Insane Games TV. We have 7, I've kind of lost count, 6 or 7 pieces of content released a week. It's 3 on Video Games for All, 2 on Geek4All, and then 2 streams a week on Geek4All, 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern Time, Mondays and Fridays. Mondays we play Magic the Gathering Arena, and Fridays we play insert random video game here. We have been playing through the Dragon Ball Z Budokai Tenkaichi franchise. There you go. We are up to our 6th and final of those games, which we will be doing this Friday. Which we'll be starting this Friday. Yeah, we're starting it this Friday. I'm super excited. And that is Dragon Ball Z Budokai Tenkaichi 3. So we will be playing those. Those are the old PS4 games for people, or PS2 games. Jesus, the old PS4 games.
I started nodding and then I was like, that was
wrong. But we have really cool stuff coming out on Video Games for All as well. So I'm really looking forward to people seeing that. Right now we are playing through Pokemon Silver on Tuesdays. Amy's first time playing through all of the Pokemon games in the franchise. She beat Pokemon Red. She's now playing through Pokemon Silver, and we'll keep going from there. Wednesdays is Amy's first time playing through The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time for the N64.
Check it out.
And then Sundays, we actually have a fun indie game. We were talking about indie games. We have a fun indie game that we are playing through called Beglitched, which is super, super fun.
Oh, it's so good.
Great
it
game.
just gets more and more and more interesting with each episode. So check that one out too.
Yeah. All right, Dave, I'm excited to see what this is going to be.
It's just me throwing a temper tantrum.
Good. Good.
If we're being entirely honest.
I don't know why I moved
but,
out of the way as if I was going to be in the way. Do you need me to hold anything, or you're just going to...
No, it was just the idea that the tagline in Overwatch that really spoke to me as someone that works in an education industry with elementary special education students is a future worth fighting for. Put up or shut up. There's a lot of things you could be doing. There's a lot of things you're not doing. And until then, Overwatch is off. But that doesn't mean any of the other streaming around Insane Games TV is going to be affected. We're doing all of the fun content that you are used to, and all you need to do, hit that follow button, ring that bell so you get notified.
Ding.
So, for myself, thank you very much, Joe and Amy, for joining me on the stream today. Boater, thank you very much for allowing me to take the reins and do a show in your absence. I hope your vacation has been well. And to Rafe Wolf, to CJ Playmaker, Start 9 Riots, Anti-Klaus Prime, and Love Alec for having chatted with us today, to B Bailey 2020 for following during the stream, and don't thank Boater for anything. He's having a blast on vacation. He's going to be the guy with the pizza box coming back with a burning party through. Exactly. Like so many other things in life, folks, we look greatly forward to seeing you next time in whatever form it takes, to borrow and butcher majority of that line. But because I'm not just going to repeat your tagline. It's just cheap.
It's cheap. I mean, I'm here. If you want me to do it, I will.
Would you mind doing it for
Insane Games TV? Happily. So, hey, for all of you watching on Insane Games TV right now, as we always say in our channels, in whichever stream of ours you watch next, we will see you all next time. Thanks, everybody.